now we're spearheading into, once we've kind of identified what our skills are, what if those skills aren't exactly what they're asking for in the job description? So this is the tricky part of the work I do with clients, and the tricky part of actually applying for jobs in general is, how do you translate what you have achieved and your skill set to being relevant to this audience? Let's say you meet 60%, but you probably want to really be able to show 100% of what they're requiring. So this is just an example of how they may be requiring in the role specific things like growing the business, managing projects, people skills. It can be as generic as that, actually, or it could be more specific. But, for instance, developing policies. I mean, that can mean a lot of different things. That could be in public sector. It could be actually rolling out a strategy through policies and trying to embed a strategy throughout an organization. It could be a policy about grant writing and how you're going to engage with charity partners. But what I thought was interesting here is that even if you haven't actually done you haven't developed policies, you might have exposure to why policies are important, what legislation might be affecting that industry. You might write a blog or two about the legislation, and then being able to translate that into language that might make sense to the organization that you're applying to. And the same with the other examples here. Growing a business, you might have built relationships with clients, but you don't really have big numbers against that, but it shows your potential to be able to grow a business. And managing budgets and teams are subsets to managing projects. So you might not have a big certification in project management, but you've managed budgets and teams, which shows you might be able to also take on additional project management, for instance. So hopefully we'll have a bit of time to break out now to do the skills mapping tool. I think most of you have it, but I'm going to actually go to the next page and show you it on the screen as well in case you don't have it in front of you. We're going to take about 5 minutes to do this, either using your real job description, or I can go back and you can look at the BSR example of that advisory services manager role. And basically what we want to try to do is to map out your top 3 to 5 skills that will translate to what you're seeing as the theme throughout that job description. So if they mention project management 6 times, that's probably going to be one of them. If they're mentioning strategy, 3 or 4 times, that's probably another one. So looking again kind of with your highlighter, how many times are they saying the same thing, and what are the themes that are coming out in that job spec? And then mapping those out pretty specifically, cutting and pasting into a new document and trying to redesign their job description so that you can then put your skills that would be relevant next to it. So it's not always going to be a literal translation, and this is where this becomes a bit of an art. So give it a go for now, and we'll have some Q&A after this as well. This can be quite challenging for people. So I'll give you guys 5 minutes to just do this on your own. And basically what you're going to do is, once you've highlighted those 5 most important skills that are required, and you list those out kind of in step 2, you then just want to start kind of brainstorming your relevant skills. It can be keywords, it can be full sentences, whatever you feel you want to be, mapping onto this document. The skill gap column, step 4, I'm less concerned with today because I don't want us focusing on the gap, actually. I want us to focus on what could be relevant and how to translate that into their language. If there is, but what this exercise helps you do, if you do this for 45 minutes for every single job advert that you're going to apply for, before you even look at a cover letter or a resume customization, this will highlight to you what really are they asking for, and do I actually really have what they're asking for to be competitive? Because we oftentimes waste time applying for roles that are the wrong level, or we don't quite fit in, but we think we'd like to do it, and we don't get the response we want from the market, and then it's kind of a vicious circle. So this is about being honest with yourself of, is there a skill gap, and is it enough of a theme that you really shouldn't even be applying for this role? Or is there enough in that relevant skill section that we actually really can build up a quite compelling story by translating them?